Our next story is Xbox isn't the only one rethinking console exclusives. PlayStation and, to a lesser extent, Nintendo are thinking beyond hardware. Okay, in 2024, the games are more expensive than ever. Publishers are taking fewer risks and layoffs and rampant. As most of the front-facing and big three gaming exclusives, Xbox CEO Phil Spencer sat down with an interview to lament of the current state of video game space. How does the industry get back to growth? Was a responding question, and he left us with a recent interview with Polygon. Now, it's clear that the console sales aren't seeing the growth that even leaders is regarding would like. According to some people on the internet, console sales are better than ever, which is false. The facts are not there. Okay. Now, PlayStation is porting games on PC via Steam, and Xbox is expanding its release strategy, including Steam, PlayStation, Nintendo. And it's also becoming clear that there's seemingly a consensus between both PlayStation, Xbox, and the entire industry is going through a recalibration, starting with console exclusives. Now, the recalibration has been accelerated things of massive waves of layoffs, and it's also rolled out the video game industry. We covered the impact of these layoffs, and has also those of created games before the thousands of applications flooded the inboxes and few companies looking to hire. It's likely many of this displace will move into a new industry into the future, and the entire industry is resetting to the commercial reality of some companies realizing that they have overexpanded, become unfocused, and the strategies are becoming overstretched and financially. Piers Harding Rolls or Atmosphere Analytics tell IGN. Okay, so by now, widely known that the two primary culprits for the recent waves of layoffs of COVID is one of the, according to Michael Packner, okay, and also Dr. Surkana Toto, another wave hitting the industry. High interest rates, slow down growth, inflation, overall negativity sentiment are clearly weighing in on the gaming industry and gamers alike. Okay. As the results, Spencer says it's clear we'll be seeing a shift in the coming years away from the console exclusives and migrating the losses of revenue everyone hasn't been reporting. Now, we've talked about this, right? We've talked about this in the past with other developers, talking about how independent games are going to have a harder time getting onto Game Pass and all those type of things. Also, the bigger companies are running straight towards a wall. Graphically, fundamentally, the expenses of what the actual game costs, they said they're running full speed into a wall, and they can't stop, okay? Because each game has to get more expensive, and they have to figure out if they can't raise the price from 60 to 70 to 70 to 80, even though the games now are literally $100 plus, okay? Because if you want 3 days early access, here's the release date, but if you want the actual release date, you pay $30 extra more, right? If you want the actual game, yeah, there's microtransactions and skins and battle passes and all this other stuff inside there. So they've changed fundamentally what the game price is, and they can't keep this up. They have to try to lower the price. So the impact of revenue needed to break even is $300 million budget has been divisive consequently in forms of mass layoffs, okay? Which I think is funny because business people don't think about the future. They think about the now. So they're like, well, everyone really likes what's going on right now. We have a pandemic. People are buying video games. Let's hire. We won't worry about laying all these people off later and seeing what that means. We'll just make all the money we can, right? They don't care. Businesses don't care about you as a consumer, and they don't care about them as employees. They just use them and abuse them, tissue after tissue, right? Do the job that you get paid. Give us the stuff. They make massive profits, and they toss it out to you. And if you don't like buying their game, there's another person waiting there to buy the game, tissue, right? So the impact of the revenue, we already read that part. It says, I believe the industry is not done yet seeking layoffs. It also further bad news through 2024. The reply from the doctor, okay, Katana Games is also concerning predictions that provides more true and days pass in 2024. PlayStation and Xbox and EA have directly or drastically reduced their staff, making headlines at every major gaming publication. Embracers not only saw layoffs, but also started spinning out their recent acquisitions like Gearbox to the new owners. Now, while Spencer is the latest in lament of negative impact of the budgets of layoffs and have the entire gaming industry, highlighting a risk of averse publishers marketing rising AAA game creation costs. At the flatlining console businesses, it's also clear to him that the things need to drastically change. PlayStation seems to agree as they slash console sales predictions from 2024 from 25 million to 21 million, and the highlighted plans to be more aggressive than PlayStation game releases on PC. All of this will affect the games industry as we know it, and more specifically for console businesses. Now, while PlayStation still champions the value exclusive releases on its consoles, they slowly but surely adopted the more aggressive PC release strategy as well. Its notable statement during the Sony's Q3 earnings, PlayStation CEO Hiroki Totoki, still the best name in video games, in the past, as well as you know, we wanted to be polarizing consoles, and the first-party titles' main purpose was to make the consoles popular, and he also adds, there's also a synergy to it. So if you have a strong first-party content, not only is your console, but also your gameplay and your computer's first-party content can grow with multiple platforms, and it can also help operating profit to improve. So that's another one that also make proactively working on. Well, here's another thing that PlayStation does, right? PlayStation likes to, they know their customers. They already know they have a diehard consumer base. Whoever, 25 million, 55 million people, whatever, that buy the console that they have. They know that they're willing to buy whatever they put out. Hence why they use a PSVR 2, and it only works with PlayStation. They're not looking for new people, right? They were just looking for the people that already bought, and they're like, well, these people, if they really like what we do, they're going to buy the PSVR 2. So they make a couple million sales there. Then they have the PlayStation Portal. Same thing with that. People that are buying that are only buying it because they have a PlayStation 5. So they're doubling down on the people that are already doing it because they know they can't get enough people to buy the rest of the PlayStation 5s. Okay? So they have to try to get double the amount of money from the people that are already into that ecosystem. Now, and only now, is Sony starting to make changes. Now, 4 years ago, before even the pandemic happened, I said that Sony's going to have to make changes going into the future. They're going to have to start releasing games on PC, which they've done, right? They're going to have to start doing streaming services, what they've done. Okay, they've done all of these things, and now they're getting multiplayer games or live service games, which they've done. Now they're trying to get the first day-and-date games, which will happen. You people that think that's not going to happen, single-player games will move over to PC day-and-date. Why? Because that's where the money is, okay? They're not going to wait 3 years afterwards because there might not be 3 years afterwards to get those consumers because the video game industry is moving. Like, 2 days pass, another game comes out, and people are buying that game instead of the game that came out on Monday. It's now a game that came on Thursday, right? It's the latest, greatest thing. So PlayStation has been doubling down, tripling down on what they're trying to do, and they're trying to grow outside of just the oversaturation of the console area, right? They're trying to start get people over on PC. They're going to start trying to get people coming more and more. So it says, but this isn't the first, right? This isn't the first time PlayStation has brought up shifting perspectives on console exclusives. Head of PlayStation Studios Herman Holtz also discussed the importance of PC in May of 2023, calling it a substantial part of PlayStation's business. Jim Ryan echoed those sentiments on the same calling, saying that our PC business is a significantly profit contributor. Now, Harding Roll's Atmosphere Analytics dives into a bit deeper, clearly, that the backdrop is also contributing to the companies looking to streamline their operations, cut their costs, reduce the commercial risk, and cut investments. This is inevitable for the current climate and the irrelevant of all of the industry, okay? He continues by citing wage inflation is also increasing costs of the game design as reasons for many studios have to start looking into safest route forward, which also means that more risk-averse market for a few years once a big budget game getting canceled can lead to hundreds of layoffs according to the peers. Now, obviously, you want those AAA games, right? The AAA games prices keep going up. And to get a AAA game and to also get a good game that's like, you know, what me and you look at and say, oh, this is a fantastic game. This is a 90 and above, right? I've said this in the past. I've said that Microsoft has decided that to keep costs down, they don't need to spend the money to get games in the 90s, right? They get games within the low 80s to high 80s, but they don't go to that 90 perspective, okay? Very few games will hit that upper echelon of 90 and above, which we look at it as like, that's a fantastic game. They go to that middle tier area where, let's say it costs $300 million to get above that 90 score, okay? But you can get an 88 or an 89 and you can charge $150 million for that game instead of $300 million for that game. You see what I'm saying? Where they keep the risk low for the amount of employees and the amount of time that gets put in that game. And on top of that, because Microsoft is doing Game Pass, they can't put $300 million into a game because they're not going to get that return back on an actual Game Pass. Because to have $300 million for a video game like Spider-Man, you have to sell 7 million copies. But if I have a game that's $150 million, okay, that's half the price. So you only need to sell 3.5 to 4 million copies. Okay, well, we can get the people that buy it ahead of time. You can get about 1 million to 2 million people, and that's half your halfway goal right there. And then the rest of it's going to get the Game Pass monthly subscription, which is much more cost effective, okay, for games, for Game Pass and for Microsoft. Okay, so it says all these changes will change with the reshape of the industry, and the game will also play for years and to come. Now, gamers want more access to more places. Both Xbox and PlayStation are ready to appease the request to meet the ballooning budgets, okay, in different ways. For Xbox, it's releasing former console exclusives on rival hardware, and while PlayStation is ramping up its PC porting business, that could also mean fewer console exclusives as hardware sales forecasts are reduced, but more ways to play the games we love. He says, quote, while pure console exclusives still go some way towards the driving console sales, more and more for Nintendo that others, it also becomes clear that games now expect to be able to play games and a variety of devices. Now, Daniel Nikos, Director of Research and Insight, tells us that even in Japan, where the console has traditionally been dominated for 41% of gamers played a console game in the past year, only 14% of gamers exclusively played a console according to 2023's survey of Japan gamers. Okay? As players are getting more access to more options and more plays, amazing news amazing news for customers. While porting the PC and mobile isn't a new strategy, it's happening at a much faster rate. It's also a drastic impact on the console market and also has consumer games in future. Console platform holders also embraced the broader strategy over the past few years and will continue to do so with the aim to research or reaching gamers on a non-console platform. Okay, Ahmed tells IGN. It says, in a recent comments from Phil Spencer seem to indicate incredibly aggressive approach with this respect. Rumors are swirling that Xbox handheld will be more open to services like Epic Games having to place on it, and also hopefully services like Steam, a strategy that aims to tear down the wall garden approach to the industry as used to the console business over years. I'm not into this. Like, I'm not saying they're not doing it. I think if Xbox does a mobile market where it's like a Switch, like the next console is this mobile market, I think that's dumb for Microsoft. I do. Because they have to come out swinging. They have to come out with a handheld that's so goddamn good, okay, that it would have to compete with the Steam Deck, it would have to compete with the Switch or Switch 2, whatever they're doing, where I think Microsoft, where they're selling less consoles and being more proactive towards Game Pass and getting on PC and being on other platforms, why would they invest money into a handheld device where they can just use the handheld devices that are already out there and tap in with that with Game Pass and their other games? It makes no sense in my head why Microsoft would come out with a handheld. Now, obviously, they could come out with a handheld. They come out with other consoles that don't sell. I mean, Wii U came out for Nintendo, and that was a bomb. So I don't know if Microsoft comes out with a handheld, if it's going to be this latest, greatest thing. Because people are already giving shit to Microsoft because the S is holding back the X, and we'll talk about that with another story, right? So Harding Rolls adds that all console players now have strategies in place to reach broader audiences in the services. Games and IP, out there 3 companies, Microsoft has been the quickest and most effective involving its strategy, largely because it has more acute need to look for growth beyond the console businesses. Now, even Nintendo is branching away with a different way through theme parks and movies. Think of this way. You don't need to own a Nintendo Switch to go to Universal Studios and watch the upcoming Legend of Zelda live-action movie. At this point, Toto points out that the console sales have remained flat for everyone. Looking back at the last several years, it's easy to see that the Xbox and PlayStation console audience is not growing. The data backs it up. No consoles, not even the highly successful Nintendo Switch, has managed to surpass 155 million units, and the PlayStation 2 sold as of 2012. Okay, over 20 years, the closest was the Nintendo DS, which also capped at 154 million. This is what I've been saying for the longest time. Everyone's like, no, consoles are selling. I'm like, even if they sell 200 million, okay, that is a small portion of what the larger space of gaming, 3 billion gamers in the world on mobile devices, consoles, PCs, okay? And the console market is literally the best-selling console ever is 155 million, which is absolutely a pimple on a pimple's ass, okay, of what the broader audience is out there. So this is exactly why they're getting away. This is why Microsoft is moving away from just selling consoles, okay? Even if Nintendo Switch, at that every point as part of the success, seems to be gearing up for the successor, currently sitting at just shy of 140 million sold. Now, how will this impact you? If you poured a purported $300 million into developing Spider-Man 2, it makes sense to invest a comparable modest sum of the port and over on PC to address the bigger audience and drastically improving the bottom line. It's exactly right, right? If I have 55 million people on PlayStation, okay, and Spider-Man 3 comes out, and it costs $350 million, I have to sell 7 million copies, I can't put all my eggs in one basket to be like, oh yeah, they're coming and they're going to sell all this on PlayStation 5. If I was Sony, you would be smart and say, yeah, we're making it for PlayStation 5 and PC day and date, because we need to subsidize the cost. We have to separate that cost across all things. You can't just put all your eggs in one basket in this market, okay? Back in the day you could, but not in the market that we're in now, okay? It says the two main factors driving the expansion of PC and mobile, okay, the first opportunity in terms of audience size and players spending, especially in the Asian markets. There are these platforms that dominate. The second factor is AAA game development budgets have continued to grow over the past decade, which pushed many publishers to increase the price of console games from 60 to 70. Free-to-play games also need a large to engagement audience to succeed over the long term, which is also limited by capped console install base. Therefore, launching the games on PC or bringing the first-party IP to mobile is a way to address these points. Now, it says change to be scared for some, but some take the comfort in knowing that there's also still a massive drive of spending on the console, which seems to indicate that the console and hardware fans have nothing to worry about. A handheld strategy like this for Xbox is hinting at a sound one according to roles. Hardware-wise, they're also being the innovation that's also console market is recent years focused largely on handheld sector and expecting that to continue over the next few years. Okay, it says, and revenue-wise, there's also always the place of the console. Console represents the 1/3 of the total global spending on video game software and services, which shows the opportunity. It's less than 1/3, isn't it? The opportunity for console platform holders even expanding to mobile and PC, in fact. The contrast is even more pronounced in the Asia and MENA, where 90% of the players' spending is generated on non-console platforms. Okay, Ahmed tells us that the rollbacks him up, and none of the companies can afford to exist in the console market as platformer holder without significantly reducing the game's revenue, so expect them to all remain committed to the console market for years to come. I've said this before, I don't think they're getting rid of the console. They'll still have something, but they have to evolve what the console is. Hence why I think Xbox is going cloud. Hence why I think they're doing the dongle, because they got to get the cost down for the consoles, but they want more people to play their games in more places. Okay? It says, for today, however, one thing is clear, that change is coming. Change is here, and more games in more places, a better value for gamer is a huge win. Console exclusives may become less and less common, but it also means that the companies are going to create more options for you. And he says, I'm all in for it. Okay? As a gamer, I don't care, right? As a gamer, I don't care where I play the game. You make a good game, I'll buy your game. I'm interested in your game, I'll pick up the game. Doesn't matter if it's on PlayStation 5, right? Nothing has made me want to buy a PlayStation 5 for that particular game, especially now that I know that PlayStation games are coming to PC. And if I had a PlayStation before I had an Xbox, it'd be the exact same thing. If I had a PlayStation, didn't have an Xbox, and Xbox games were coming out, I wouldn't buy an Xbox because I know Xbox games are coming to PC. I also know they come to Game Pass, and I can play Game Pass on my PC. So it works both ways, okay? The one company that I need to buy is Nintendo. And Nintendo has it where they have such a fan base, and because you were a kid and the first console you probably played on was a Nintendo at some way, shape, or form, they have you because you like the IPs, you like the games, but also their games don't cost $350 million to make because they don't overspend. Nintendo's very smart on how they do the business, okay? Their graphics and stuff are not like God of War. It doesn't take them as long to make these games, and it doesn't cost as much to make the games that they're making, okay? So when when games are taking their games and making television series, they're making movies now. Why do you think there's so many movie adaptations or TV shows of video games now? Because they have to make the money somewhere. They're not making enough console sales, so they're starting to license off their material to make a God of War movie, to make the Last of Us TV series, to make the Spider-Man, right? Like, they have to make more movies. That's what Sony's doing. As a company, Sony's trying to make, more money in different places that pays and balances out their whole balance sheet. Microsoft's doing the same thing. You got the Halo series, you got the Fallout series, you got other games that are in the works like Gears of War. You have TV shows, you got movies, and then you got Game Pass, you have Windows. They have a much more broad area to make money for that company. Nintendo, same thing. Nintendo's got theme parks, okay? They got movies. #1 movie last year, or was it #2? I think Barbie beat it, right? But they're coming out with a whole slew of movies now for Nintendo. TV shows, right? Toy lines, all of this stuff. Because it's not just about the video game market anymore, because the video games are not selling, or the console market, I should say, is not selling as well, okay? And it peaks at 155. The best console ever sold is PlayStation 2 at 155 million units. Yet there's 3 billion gamers out there, and that's what they're moving towards. These are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. Please make sure you share, like, and subscribe. Let me know what you think about this. Do you think this is the way it's going to go, where all companies just kind of just blend together? They're just going to be, you're going to turn on your TV at some point 10 years from now. You're going to have a PlayStation app, a Nintendo app, an Xbox app. Or do you think it's always going to be the way of old school? You got to buy a Nintendo system. You got to buy a PlayStation system. You got to buy an Xbox system. Let me know in the comment section down below. If you like what we do here, make sure you check out some of our other videos. Thanks for watching.